So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. I know we have been planning for this for quite some time. I'm a real estate professional for the province of New Brunswick. I mainly practice in St. John area. A lot of my clients and my friends and family, they've been exploring about halal mortgage options, and I've been searching for this. And I happened to, came across this company, and I thought, I connected with EQRAZ, and EQRAZ's team was kind enough to host this webinar. It's more of a panel discussion, honestly, today. And before I move forward, I want to introduce the rest of the panel members here. So we have Zohair, who is the CEO of EQRAZ. It's a halal mortgage provider in Canada. They operate throughout Canada for every single province. We also have Naveed. He's the independent mortgage broker who works with EQRAZ. He's the person who makes sure all the applications comes in, do all the due diligence, and then they are handed over to EQRAZ for the final decisions. So they'll be talking about things, but during this time, we want to keep it open. We just don't want to keep it one-ended. So anytime during that conversation, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. So if you have joined from your computer, at the bottom, you will notice that there is an option to raise the hand just to make sure that there is less background noise, so everyone is muted for now. However, if you have a question, please raise your hand. Our host basically will give you a pop-up to unmute yourself. You can unmute and you can ask your question anytime. So as I see people raising the hand, I can just call out your name and then you will be unmuted basically. So before I ask Zohair to start, I just want to the St. John and this whole Atlantic Canada, the real estate market is booming, and this is the time where more and more people are moving here and everything seems to be going well. Just to give you some perspective, the median market price, and I'm talking just the residential family houses, it was almost $320,000 for the year 2024. So if you look at, of course, I have not pulled the Jan and Fab numbers, but if you look at for the whole year 2024, the median price was over $300,000. And this was up almost 12.5% compared to the previous year. So the appreciation point of view, the Atlantic Canada's market is growing. Lots of people are moving in because it's affordable. You still are not spending millions of dollars to get a house. So that's why this is a booming market. We are expecting to see another 3 to 5% appreciation in the coming years. Of course, it's not going to be as high as the previous years, but this market will continue to grow for next few years. That's a prediction. So this is where EQRAZ comes in. I know some of my own clients, they are putting things on hold. They're not making the purchases because they wanted to go into the mortgage, the Sharia way. So here is one option. So like I said, this is going to be an open conversation. Any questions you have, raise your hand and we will inshallah try and answer those questions. Or I should say, Zohair and Naveed will try to answer those questions. So without further delay, Zohair, I would pass it on to you.
Thank you very much, Shabad bhai. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Uh, I'm sorry if I missed you telling everyone, but to raise your hand, just to remind everyone, you just have to go to the bottom of your screen and there's a raise hand button. So if you raise your hand, we will see it and we will unmute you and you can ask any questions that you wish. So please feel free to keep it very interactive. And we want to make sure that we cover everybody's queries and questions, and we're here for you. So I would like to just introduce myself. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a chemical engineer and a pensions actuary by profession. I have an MBA from a French university called HEC Paris. EQRAZ is my passion project that I started in 2018. Spent about 5 years of work before I actually launched it. We launched in January 2023, alhamdulillah. And I'm very proud of this achievement because it took a very long time to create a full A to Z, completely Sharia compliant as well as Canada compliant offering. What's very important to understand is that in Canada, where regulations are not very friendly with halal finance, it's very important that any halal business, any halal finance lender is not just Sharia compliant, but also complies with all Canadian law and is reasonably simple for customers to understand. It's simple for the closing lawyers to understand. It's simple enough and straightforward for the mortgage administrators to get. And most importantly, it must be simple for the banks, the credit unions, and the lending capital markets community because the, as you all may know, Canada has a $300 billion mortgage market, halal mortgage market, 300 billion halal mortgage market. And yet the number of mortgages outstanding today in Canada is, take a guess. Shabad bhai, do you want to take a guess? What is the outstanding out of the 300 billion mortgage market in Canada? What's the outstanding mortgages in Canada, do you think?
Uh,
What's a number you would put on it?
I don't know, cannot guess. So out of the 300 billion, what's the percentage of the market people are defaulting on?
No, no.
Yeah.
Out of the 300 billion market size, what is the actual market in your view that the mortgages are issued? How many halal mortgages do you think are outstanding? I'm just asking you because I know that we've never discussed this. So
Yeah,
just to make it a
yeah.
little bit more interesting.
I don't know. I'm just gonna pick a random number. Let's say 100 million.
So you're close. The number is about 300 million.
Okay.
So 300, which means 0.3 billion. 0.3 billion out of a $300 billion market. And
Wow.
that's crazy. What it means is there is a huge demand, but there's no supply. There's no supply of capital. Only in the last 5 years, I think there has been a lot of work done and a lot of publicity about Sharia compliant mortgages, but it continues to remain something which is not accessible at scale. Why? What I'm very proud of is that EQRAZ is the first and only halal mortgage provider in Canada to meet with all the Canadian relevant regulations as well as being Sharia compliant. And therefore, we are the only halal and AOFI compliant, Sharia compliant mortgage provider that got the backing of one of Canada's top three mortgage administrators, as well as a Schedule A Canadian bank. And all our funding, this is something which customers and listeners will want to know. Oh, is EQRAZ working with a bank? But how then is it halal? So we'll cover all of that later on. But suffice to say, EQRAZ, all our funding is halal. It is through wakala agreements that we sign with the lenders and strictly Sharia compliant. There is no riba involved. All the funds that we get from A to Z are halal and they have never touched riba. So the only way to fulfill this $300 billion market is to become compliant with the Canadian banking and capital markets regulations and system. EQRAZ is the only company in Canada that is compliant. And it is for that reason that despite being probably one of the newest companies, we are very quickly spreading across Canada. And we are now pretty much all the provinces other than Yukon and Northwest territories. Including Quebec and all the Atlantic provinces as well. So our product is, I'll just tell you briefly about our product and then I'll pass it on to you. Our product is a monthly Murabaha product and it is 100% Sharia compliant. When you come for application, say you want to buy a $300,000 house and you are putting 20% down payment. So Shabad bhai, imagine if you are my customer, you come to me, you will apply for 240,000 in financing.
Right.
Naveed, as the mortgage agent, will work with you and work with our underwriter. He will approve you. We will then issue you a commitment letter, which will confirm all the terms and conditions of the financing, as well as the amortization schedule, the full schedule of payments. So you can apply for anywhere between a 1 year to a 5 year renewable mortgage. So the amortization is 25 years, but it renews at the end of the term. So, and the reason we do it that way is because this is required to get access to scalable funding and to be compliant in Canada. In the US, there's a lot of 30-year mortgages, but in Canada, 99%, 95% of mortgages are within 5 years.
Yeah.
So what we do is we approve you, we give you all the funding, the 240,000, we give it to you, to your closing lawyer, and you go and buy the house in your name. The title is yours, the house is yours. And then every month we'll do a Murabaha transaction with you, and we will then charge you the profit and the principal and the Murabaha profit. And at the end of the term, you keep renewing until you have fully paid off your mortgage, and then the mortgage is discharged, and the house is yours. So briefly speaking, this is how we work. And our Sharia board, our Sharia certificates, our information about EQRAZ is all on our website on EQRAZ.com. And I will just end by sharing my screen, which I will request the admin to allow me to share my screen because I don't think I have screen access. So if you go to our website at EQRAZ.com, I would suggest to customers, this is our landing page. It's very easy to apply. You simply go to apply now and you can apply there. It takes you through a 15-minute application process, and then your application will come to us. And sooner than you can blink, Naveed will call you or one of our team will call you to take your mortgage. Naveed will speak more about the application process. We have a mortgage calculator on the website, so you can determine using our calculators how much you qualify for, or if you know your household income, how much maximum financing you can get, how much income you need to get a certain loan amount. You can also calculate your entire amortization schedules and your monthly payments. And we also have a rent versus buy scenario in case you want to do some analysis. So our calculators are there for you to use and do your own analysis. From a Sharia and product information point of view, I would recommend you can go to our FAQ video page where our product structure and the Sharia compliance and Sharia structure behind it is very clearly described in Urdu, English, Arabic, and then even in French in our French website by our Sharia scholars in short 5-minute videos. So my recommendation is before anybody calls or writes to us or calls us or applies, go through these. And if you have any questions, we are available on the contact information. You can click the WhatsApp button, contact us via WhatsApp, or you can send us a contact form or call us on 1-888-55 37729, and we will be there to answer your queries. So this is a little bit of a brief about EQRAZ, and I will pass back on to Shubhat Bhai to continue the discussion.
No, that's great. I will, that's a great description, and I would encourage everyone, if you have any questions, please raise your hand, and, I think we would try and keep it interactive. So, there is a question from Qazi Rahman, so if you can unmute. Go ahead, Qazi bhai.
You are muted though. Admin, can you make sure he's unmuted? Yes.
There you go.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Shabbat bhai and Zuhair bhai and Navid bhai. My name is Qazi Rahman. I'm mortgage specialist in RBC, and my background is banking for the last 20 years. I was in Standard Chartered Bank in Bangladesh, and also here in Scotia Bank and other banks. So I have a little bit of background in Islamic banking, working in Standard Chartered Sadiq. I was a product manager. So my question is, in terms of mortgage, as you said that Sharia compliant. So you said that you are on the Murabaha concept, but in Senator Sadiq we had Shirkatul Milk concept. Can you please tell me a little bit more about the rental concept? Are you using, or are you doing it differently? That's my first question. Second question is, how does the fund pool working in terms of Islamic banking? Because we know the source of fund where you're giving this fund, it has to be Sharia compliant, or it has to be come from an account which is a checking account. So that is my question. Like, what product concept are you using? Because Murabaha is normally used for personal loans, but it's actually mortgage. So that's why my question, Zuhair bhai. Thank you.
Qazi bhai, very nice to meet you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for your
Walaikum
questions.
assalam.
Shirkatul milk is a very commonly used. You have two types of shirka. Shirka means partnership. So
Correct.
in English, it's called the diminishing musharaka product.
Correct.
There
Right.
are two types of shirka, shirkatul aqd and shirkatul milk.
Right.
And both can be used for mortgage financing. In Shirkatul Milk, as you may know, basically both parties are partners in the product. So if you come to EQRAZ for a house, EQRAZ will buy, say, 80% of the house, and you will buy 20% of the house, and you will become an owner, and EQRAZ will become an owner. And
Okay.
then we both have partnership in the house, and then you will rent the house from me because you are using my portion of the house as well. So you
Right.
will pay monthly rental payments instead of riba. Instead of interest, it becomes monthly rental payments. And you will also purchase a small piece of the house from EQRAZ every month. So the
Right.
the amortization schedule and the payment schedule is exactly the same, but the underlying principle is that we both own the property and therefore we are co-owners. We take the risk in the property together, the house pricing going up and down, we take that risk together. Though in a shirkatul milk, those risks can be transferred. So normally what would happen in many shirkatul milk products, such as used in the UK, is that what the lender does, they say to Qazi that, Qazi, if you decide to sell the house at a loss, I will not allow you to sell it. You must first buy the house at the original price from me, then you will
Mhm.
sell the house. Otherwise, I will not let you sell the house.
Okay.
So that way, the lender, who is in a powerful position, they control their, they use their authority to ensure that they don't have to take the loss in case you sell the house below the price. In
Okay.
addition to that, the problem in Canada with shirika products is that they can attract capital gains and land transfer taxation.
Mhm.
In different provinces, there are different rules of capital gains and land transfer taxes. And in shirka projects, there are 2 or 3 ways that companies are doing it in Canada. One of the ways that they are doing it is that they first sign a cover letter with you for a partnership, but then they say that you must sign a third party, an agreement, financing agreement with our partner lender. And then
Okay.
that lender is not Sharia certified. So it could be a credit union, it could be a fund. So if the lender that you are signing the agreement with is not Sharia certified, then of course the product is not Sharia, so the financing is not Sharia certified. So
Right.
one of
Correct.
the signs of that is if a lender asks you to sign 2 separate agreements, one is a musharaka agreement and one is a lending agreement, then chances are that you must check that it is not Sharia certified. Okay. The
Okay.
other way that some companies may be doing, this is based on what my experience is in the UK and what I've seen in other parts of the world, is that they may do it through a partnership. And this way, through a partnership or through a corporation, where the company and the buyer and the borrower, the borrower and the bank, they will, instead of buying the house directly, in order to avoid the capital gains and land transfer taxation, they will instead open up a company and get the house in the name of the company. And then the buyer and the lender buy shares in the company. They get shares in the company and the buyer purchases shares from the lender. Okay.
Okay.
The problem is there are a lot of complexities in a contract like that. A contract
Okay.
like that can avoid capital gains and land transfer taxes, but in certain scenarios, it can attract capital gains and land transfer taxes. So my concern, the reason EQRAZ does not offer this product is for 2 main reasons. In my
Okay.
opinion, this is my opinion, guys. This is
Yeah.
not a legal opinion. It is not a financial opinion. This is my opinion as a Islamic financial a specialist in Canada. There are 2 major risks that I found in the Musharaka product. One risk is that there are too many scenarios where taxation could come after many years. In
Okay.
the UK, in the UK, where Islamic banks are offering these Musharaka products, even though they were fully compliant, there is an article here about the case of diminishing Musharaka, which talks about the fact that after many years, 20 years of these banks issuing legal, lawful musharaka products, the tax authorities are now pursuing both the lender and the borrowers and coming with them with hundreds of thousands of dollars of capital gains taxes. Even though 20 years ago, when the products were issued, they were compliant. So what happened? How did the
Mm.
tax authorities suddenly wake up? So Canada uses common law, except for Quebec, just like the UK uses common law. And that scares me a lot as a lender and as an entrepreneur, that to get into a product which has these kind of risks. That's one issue. The other issue I have with a Musharaka product is that most of these companies, EQRAZ, a lot of the other companies, we are new companies. In a Musharaka product, the buyer also owns, but the lender also owns the property. What happens
Correct.
if the lender goes bankrupt?
Yep. Joint ownership. Yep.
again, I will suggest you please go to this. There's a blog on our website called Canada's Musharaka Mortgage Problem and EQRAZ Solution. And
Okay.
one of the things is that there was a Reuters article 10 years ago, which explained when a halal Islamic company went bankrupt and what happened to people's homes and people's mortgages. So I will not speak further to this because I've already given the resources to everyone. This is the reason that ICRAZ will not want to issue a Musharaka product in Canada. And therefore, we have structured our product using the Murabaha principle. Murabaha
Okay.
principle is also used in mortgages. It's very
Mhm.
normal. You can use Murabaha for any Islamic product. Murabaha simply means a tijara on a cost
Right.
plus sale of
Correct.
commodities or the house. And that tijara is allowed. And that's how we structured our
Right.
product for the reason I told you. I apologize for the long answer, but this was a very important
No,
question.
no.
Yeah.
No, no, Zurabay, thank you. Because it's a very interesting question because I worked in Islamic banking myself, so that's why I thought, okay, in Canada we see a lot of obstacles in Islamic products, and there's no Islamic Sharia board as we see that, and none of the banks can do it in last eh, so many years. So thank you, Zurabay.
Thank you for your question, Kazi. We have another
Jazakallah.
question. We have a hand raised by Brother Yasser. Yasser Sani, if you can unmute them.
Just before Brother Yasser speaks, Zahir, I think Brother Kazi also asked.
Another question?
Yeah, he did ask another question, which we'll address in a second here. I'll address it, inshallah.
Okay, cool. And anyone else who wants to ask the question, please keep your hand raised. We will go like one by one. So I know Brother Taha wanted to ask something as well. So please keep your hand raised. Don't yeah, we'll come to you, inshallah.
And I'll try to keep my answers a bit shorter if I'm
Yeah,
speaking.
yeah. So Brother
Go ahead.
Yasser, you can go ahead. You would have to unmute yourself. I guess you must have gotten the pop-up.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you very much for this forum. Unlike the previous speaker who asked question, he asked a question in the master class. I will take us back to 101, the basic class. I'm very ignorant of the musharaka, murabaha, and all of that. So I would like you to break it easy for laymen like myself who are totally ignorant of the basics. All we know is that the mortgaging has a huge tax that is complete haram. What makes the murabaha not interest, doesn't have interest, and what makes it Sharia? You mentioned Sharia compliance. What makes it Sharia compliance? Please break it to the basic layman understanding, because I want to be sure that we are not being sweet talk into doing what we've been running away from all this while. So break it down to the basic Islamic principles of that interest. And if at all there is no interest, then how are you in business? How are you making your money for us to be comfortable to mortgage with you? And all of the capitalism and all of that that Islam is been running away from. How does the murabaha, if that's what you were selling, how does that become the Sharia compliance? Thank you very much.
Jazakallah for your question, Yasser, brother Yasser. The question you are asking is a very fundamental question. The Islamic finance industry across the world, it's a $4 trillion industry. There's more than 500 Islamic banks, and they are all following the same standards. We now have global standards called AOFI, Accounting and Auditing Organization of Islamic Financial Institutions. So the question you are asking is best answered by a sheikh, by a Sharia scholar. I am not a Sharia scholar, but I will do my best to answer your question in a basic way. But I will, before even I answer, my request to you will be that a better answer will be for you in our website. If you go to the FAQ videos page, the very first question, please explain the product structure used by ICRAZ for financing halal mortgage and the basis for approval under Sharia law. How are halal financing structures established based on Quran, Sunnah, and how Ijma and Ijtihad used in Sharia compliant financing? Brother, these two questions are directly answered by our Shayukh, and you are welcome to please read them. They will probably answer better than I will answer. However, I will give you a very simple answer. The Islamic financial industry and the concept of Sharia compliant financing is that there any borrowing and lending, any financial deal that happens must be under Sharia compliant principles, which prohibits three things. It prohibits riba, which is interest. It prohibits gharar, which is gambling. And it prohibits speculation, mesir. These are the three things. Riba, gharar, and mesir. These are the main three things which are prohibited. So Islamic finance industry is generally structured around finding ways to manage in today's capitalist world, as you mentioned, but within the principles and tenets of Sharia law. In the case of mortgages and mortgage lending, we cannot lend you money and charge you interest on it. Therefore, what the entire global Islamic finance community has done, they have created products based on the principles of either murabaha or musharaka or ijara. I will talk to you about murabaha. Murabaha means a cost plus sale. Murabaha means basically doing a tijara where the cost price and the selling price of the item that is being sold is known. So the way EQRAZ product is structured, that we will give you the money and then we will every month conduct murabaha transaction with you using Sharia compliant assets, which will create a halal profit for us and a loss for you, and we will charge you that halal profit. I will end by saying one very important thing, brother, because a lot of people say, oh, but if you are charging the same profit instead of interest, it is all a scam, or this is fake, or this is... No, very important point. And this is from the Quran, and I will show you the verse. Sharia does not mind if the end result is the similar one from a cash flow point of view. What Sharia cares about is that you reach those cash flows in a Sharia compliant halal way, in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the verse that I will refer you is Surah Baqarah, verse number 275. I can read it in Arabic if you want. الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ الرِّبَا لَا يَقُومُونَ إِلَّا كَمَا يَقُومُ الَّذِي يَتَخَبَّطُهُ الشَّيْطَانُ. And it keeps going in English. But those who take riba, usury, will rise on the day of resurrection like tormented by Satan's touch. This is the important part, brother. That is because they say trade, yani tijara, and riba are the same. Trade and riba are the same, but God has allowed trade and forbidden usury. The reason, because I've asked the scholars about this, the reason they say this is because what they say is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not asking you to question his decision. Just like Allah says, a girlfriend and a boyfriend, na'uzubillah, living together is haram, but the same two couple, if they just say the nikah in front of 2 or 4 witnesses, or 2 witnesses, I apologize, you will know better, it is certainly halal. In the same way, when you eat zabiha meat, if I put 2 steaks in front of you, one is zabiha, the other one is not. One is halal, one is haram, even though the end result is similar. In the same way, riba may end up in similar result as tijara, as murabaha or musharaka. But we as human beings want to follow the Quran and we want to do our best in today's world. And this is basically what Islamic finance in the whole world is based on, my brother. EQRAZ is following the AOFI standards, which is the global recognized Sharia compliant systems in the world. And we have a Sharia certificate and the fatwa based on that. And I hope this is sufficient for your question to as an answer. If you are still not satisfied, I am very happy to put you in touch with our shayukh, and you can talk to them directly as well if you want further information.
Great. Thank you very much. I believe Brother Taha had a question as well. I don't see his hand raised now, but I think he did. Brother Taha, do you want to ask the questions? Um, he can unmute yourself if you like. Yeah. You would have to unmute yourself. You must have gotten the pop-up. Yeah,
Hi.
there you go. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Tahalam. I'm really enjoying the discussion here. It's very informative for me. The only downside, again, that's a perspective. I have a different kind of a mindset. I was looking at into what if ICRAZ has a new competitor in market and they have a better offering in terms of the profit rate and the rates that you are offering on this side, and as well as a better eligibility criteria for the lender and also for the borrower. So how are you going to move forward with this competition if that comes up in the future? So what are your plans to tackle that? Because obviously then uh, the uh, the people that are already part of your program would want you to provide the competitive rates as well to cater that. Like US have some different competition as well, so they do like have a variation in their rates as well. So is ICRAS ready for a competition, and how are they going to cope with that?
Uh, Assalamu alaikum, brother. Competition is a very healthy thing, and we welcome that competition. I like to think of our competition as our partners, because our real competition is not each other. It's not the other halal companies. When there is a $300 billion market, even if 20 companies come, there is enough market for everyone. So I think competitors have to also think of each other as friends, but also compete. I consider this business to be a sadqa jariyah. Honestly, it's a passion project. I've been doing it for 7 years. I think of this as a virtuous thing. And as you know, in Islam, it enjoins competition. There are hadith about competing in doing good deeds. That if somebody else is doing more good deeds than you should be sad that you want to do more good deeds, but you should wish them well also. Right now, the key differentiator between IQRAZ and other companies is that we are the only ones with the product structure that we have, which does comply with all Canadian laws without any exceptions, without any worries for the customer. There is no risk for our customer if IQRAZ collapses, God forbid, though inshallah it should not happen. The customer is getting the same terms and conditions. The rate is more expensive, inshallah it will go down, but the same facilities in terms of early payments, in terms of what happens if they delay a payment, in terms of if they want administrative support like bank, like statements, or deferring their payments and all these kind of things. We are providing the same quality of service as you would get from RBC Bank. In fact, maybe better, because we have partnered with Canada's third largest mortgage administrator. Now, if for that we charge a premium, because that is our cost structure, and we charge a premium for being AOFI members, for being Sharia compliant, for having the 5 of the top 10 scholars in the world are on our board. We charge a premium. It's not because we want to make more money. We charge that premium because that is our cost. So ICRAZ doesn't really make much money right now. In fact, we're not in profit as yet. We will only be in profit when we've sold a certain minimum number of mortgages, which is a very high number. So if competition comes along, which already we have in some provinces, I don't see it as a problem. I just see it as an opportunity for us to do better, inshallah. And I wish all our competitors the best of luck. Canada is run by 6 big banks. They are all competing with each other. But when it comes to regulation and dealing with the regulator and dealing with the market, I can promise you they all deal together as a club. They are the best of friends as well.
Yeah.
That's how I feel competition should be.
Great. Thank you very much.
Shabad bhai, I think Naveed wanted to make some comments. Maybe
Yeah.
we should,
For sure, yeah. Naveed, please go ahead, and then we can take on more questions after your
Yeah,
after the
assalamu alaikum. Zuhair, yeah, so I prepared a slide for everyone. I was able to chat with Brother Shabahat. I wanted everyone who's listening just to kind of understand their market. Obviously, as Brother Shabahat mentioned, the market has increased 12.5% in the last year. The projections moving forward are anywhere between 3 to 5%. So I prepared something based on an average price for a household in St. John. So I think when we spoke, we mentioned that 300,000 was the average price. If you can follow along with me on the left, and there's an icon moving down as well, you'll see the 300,000 is purchase price. 20% down is a minimum requirement for EQRAZ, which is $60,000. Your net mortgage would be $240,000. That would be the borrowing amount. We have terms of 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, or 5 year. In this scenario here, I've entertained a 2-year rate, and I'll tell you why later. But maximum amortization for as per guidelines is 25 years, and the profit rate today, which changes every 7 days, is 8.24%.
Naveed, sorry, I think you're going a bit fast because some
Okay,
people may not know what amortization means and what's the difference.
sure.
So maybe just a little bit layman
Sure.
language and yeah.
Sure, no problem. So amortization, I will mention that. Amortization is the number of years to terminate the contract of the $240,000 mortgage to zero. So we use that to effectively get a reasonable monthly obligation, which is suitable to the income that you are earning. So the profit rate that I've used in this example is 8.24. Your monthly obligation would be $1,869. So that would be your monthly obligation. If you look to the right where it says rent, I put here monthly rent of $2,000. So I was talking to Brother Shabahat, and basically a home in the price range of $275 to $350 are averaging at about $2,000 a month. So when I looked at that, I was like, wow, this is amazing, because in Ontario, where we're paying $3,000 in rent and home prices are closer to $1 million, it's the scale is turned upside down, where mortgage payments are $6,000 or $7,000 versus $3,000. So very difficult for clients that are looking for Sharia compliant financing to really consider. However, you're fortunate in St. John's, where your actual monthly obligation is lower than the rent, which is on average where you are. The other benefit is that if we use an average 5% annual appreciation, that home for $300,000 will now have increased over a 2-year period to $330,750. So 5% on 300 is 15,000. Just multiply that by 2, and we get $330,750. Then what we did was I took the total cash spent over the term. So basically you're paying $1,869. I multiplied that by 24 months, which is 2 years. And I came to an amount of $45,032. That is the monthly outflow of cash over a 2-year period. In addition to that, when you are making payments, there's a principal portion, and that principal portion over the 2-year period is $6,396. So that is your money. That is money that you've paid in, which has brought the balance from $240 down. And then I went to equity gain, which is about $30,750. And now I'm going to show you the difference, okay? So now you've got total equity gained in the house, which is $30,000, plus the equity that you saved, which is $6,000. That totals $37,146, which means your net cost over the term is essentially $45,000 that you paid, $37,000 that you've essentially gained, and your cost is $7,886.21. If I take that cost,
Naveed, sorry to interrupt you. Just for myself and for the listeners,
yeah,
I'm kind of getting a little bit lost. Where did you get the equity saved number from? So I understand that 1869 multiplied by 24, that's my payments over the period of 24 months. That becomes 45,032. And what's the calculation behind equity
yeah,
saved?
so I'll do that. I'll do the quick calculation. So $6,396 divided by 24. So that means that $266.50 of the $1,869 that you're paying is going directly to your principal. The balance of those funds is going towards the profit. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So what I did was I took the $266 on a monthly basis, I multiplied it by 24 months, and that tells me that you've paid your mortgage from $240 down by $6,390.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, so technically, out of that $45,000, you've essentially paid $39,000 instead,
Got it.
because $6,000 came back to you. Okay.
Got it.
And so I just added the growth, because essentially if you don't purchase a home over the next 2 years, you're going to buy that exact same home for $330,750. So if you buy today, which is the reason why I'm here today, to basically illustrate to individuals that the importance of buying real estate today, understanding that the market increased by 12% is very important. And if you don't, no problem, you will be paying 5% more than what it's worth today. Over 2 years, it's 330. So I'm just adding that in. When I add that in, your total cost, which means you've essentially, it costs you $7,886. And then I just divided that by 24, as you can see in the calculation right at the bottom. Net monthly cost, 7,886 divided by 24 is $328.59, which means that essentially it costs you $328.59 a month to live in that home, versus if we move up to the rent, your monthly rent is $2,000. Annual increases on average per province can differ. We have 2.5%. So you're looking at 48,600. That 48,600 that you've paid the landlord to pay their mortgage down, none of that comes to you. If you go with EQRAZ or anywhere else, any mortgage that you get to purchase a home, $6,396 of that money is yours. In addition to that, if the property value increases, that is also yours. And so that's just an indication to all our listeners that purchasing real estate today is very, very important. To get in touch with Brother Shabahat is very important to understand these numbers a little better. Brother Shabahat, with his, he's a professional, has been in business for 5+ years, and obviously invested in the community, well respected, will guide you as to what is available and what you can do. And I know Brother Shabahat will also talk to you about, if you feel that the obligation that you're paying monthly is high. There are properties with individuals today, like when my father came to this country, we rented out the basement because we could not afford to live as a family of 6 without the additional income. So renting out the basement, or renting out a 1-bedroom apartment, which I understand in St. John, the average rental for a unit like that is anywhere between $800 and $1,200, and that's additional monies that will help you for cash flow on a monthly basis. So I will leave it at that. Zahir, if you can address Brother Kazi's question where he talked about the source of funding. I think that's very important for everyone to understand. And also, I just wanted to publicly thank Zahir for basically his Sadaqah Jariyah that he's doing. I've been in the business for 30+ years. I've seen a lot of Sharia compliant products. A lot of people, when I worked at RBC for 30+ years, come into me and say, hey, listen, just change the word from interest to profit and I will take it from you. It's not that simple. The source of funding is very important, which Zahir will talk about right now. But I've seen a lot of products and I'm comfortable with this product. Why? Because it mimics the general conventional mortgage. Because when Zahir and I were speaking 5 years ago, I mentioned to him, I said, listen, I'm an old cat and I do not want to be learning anything new. Everything needs to be simple, easy, and clean. When a client walks and a person walks into another person, they need to understand the mortgage setup and everything has to be exactly the same. And alhamdulillah, he was able to research and do murabaha, monthly murabaha, which directly mimics that. The other thing Brother Kazi asked, or I think someone else may have asked as well, is about termination, getting out, etc. Yeah, we can stop sharing the screen. Is the termination clause. So alhamdulillah, with EQRAZ, you're able to terminate your mortgage instantaneously. So if you purchase the home today and 3 weeks later you want to sell your home, all you need to do is, just like any standard bank, you will pay 3 months profit or 3 months profit rate differential, exactly like any conventional bank. Some of the benefits of dealing with EQRAZ is flexibility. So, if you have a $240,000 mortgage, you're able to deposit 20% per year. That is $48,000. There is not one bank out there that allows anyone to do 20% down. They allow 10 and they allow 15, but not many. There might be.
You mean 20%? You're talking about 20% down. What you're clarifying, what you're stating is that customers are able to pay additional 20% principal per year to.
Correct. Yeah. And that principal, yeah, thank you for that clarification. 20% additional payment can be made throughout the term of the contract, so every year. Some of the differences between some of the lenders, so if you go to RBC, for example, you get 10% lump sum, but it's a one-time lump sum, which means you have to accumulate that 24,000 in this scenario and then make a payment. It could be less, no problem, but then you will not be able to entertain that option again until the following year. With EQRAZ, you can do 20%, which is 48,000, and it's accumulative. So every month you can give them 1 month 5,000, next month 20,000. If you get a bonus, whatever the case may be, you have that ability. So alhamdulillah, if you're able to pay 48,000 or every year in additional to what you're making, you'll have your mortgage essentially paid off in 5 years. And I can go over calculations with you specifically. Feel free to call me at any time, and I will go through your specific situation. But I wanted to share this information with everyone. And Zahir Bhai, if you can comment on source of funding, which is very important that everyone always asks me.
I just want to add that everyone has a different situation, and I agree with Naveed, like, because I mean most of the people I am dealing with these days, everyone is looking for rental income opportunities, so that is very common. So if you have something in mind and you want to run some numbers that, this is the assumption, here is how much rental income I'm going to generate. So then, Naveed can help you depending on your situation. So thank you very much. Please keep your questions ready. So this is a great forum. Raise your hands, and after Zuhair is done addressing the question, we can come back to questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Naveed, for your kind words and for that explanation. I think St. John is a very unique place where the calculation of rental versus property price versus getting a mortgage is extremely obvious. Why pay 2,000 in rental when you can actually get your own house and have the benefits of living under your own house, your own roof, where you can do whatever you want to the house and it's yours? I think there's an emotional and spiritual benefit to that. And I say that as a 50-year-old person who's still living in a rented house because I'm waiting until such time that I can qualify for an EQRAZ mortgage because I'm a newcomer to Canada. So this is very, very emotional for all of us and for me as well. I wanted to address the question that Naveed stated about the source of funding. This is actually a very important point because right now we all have bank accounts with the Canadian banks. So I'm sure that all attendees, Shabad Bhai, Naveed, you, me, we all have bank accounts, current accounts. So if you have $10,000 in, say, your bank account, do you know what's happening with your money? Shabad Bhai,
Just
Naveed,
going
what's
out,
happening with your money?
going out in the market, I guess, it's being
What is
lended
a bank doing with your $10,000?
because they're lending it to other people.
They're lending it to other people and earning riba on it. Your 10,000 is being used to earn riba. This is what kills me most. I hate that. What EQRAZ is trying to do is get your $10,000, tell the bank to give it to us instead. Don't use it for riba. The banks have billions of dollars in checking accounts where they don't pay any interest. So it's riba-free money, customers' deposits. We have made a structure, alhamdulillah, which is completely vetted by all the lawyers, which complies with regulation. We've developed a wakala structure, which is a very commonly used Islamic structure in the world. And we have signed a wakala agreement with our investors where the banks use your $10,000, your Naveed's $20,000, Azim's $15,000, my $2,000, and they give it to EQRAZ under the wakala structure. And then EQRAZ uses that money to issue halal mortgages. And then we give a halal return to the bank. Now, this is the step where we are at now. So not only is it that we are providing halal mortgages, but I feel that the bigger sadaqah jariyah, as we say, and I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our efforts and gives us strength and perseverance in this, is to redirect the money from riba towards a halal cause. That's what we are trying to do. So I, again, am very proud of the fact that EQRAZ is the only halal provider in Canada ever, in Canadian history, all past and now, that has got Sharia compliant money through a wakala or any Sharia structure through a bank. And that's what we want to do. And that's where we're going to get billions of dollars in financing, and we'll get very cheap financing. The bigger we get, the more pressure we can give the bank to reduce the wakala rate. So we can reduce our murabaha rate. And that's how we are doing. And by the way, our FAQ videos, questions number 5, 6, answer this question about the halal sourcing of the money. So you can please, I refer you to that as well.
Thanks for doing that, Zahir. Really quickly, if anyone has any questions, please raise your hands. But before we do that, I'm just going to comment on why I used a 2-year rate example. The reason why I use a 2-year profit rate is because we anticipate meeting the guidelines of the institutions for the amount of business that we're going to do. And once we do that, obviously with competition, et cetera, cost of funding should decrease. And therefore, in 2 years, you'll be able to renew, inshallah, at a lower profit rate. And that's why my recommendation, based on where we see things going, is to secure something for a 2-year term. You're welcome to go 3, 4, 5 if you'd like. My recommendation is 2 years. Over to you, Brother Shah.
Hey, we have another question from Brother Farooq, and then one more. So we'll go with Brother Farooq, if you can unmute them. Brother, you can unmute yourself. You have been given the permission. Go
Hello,
ahead.
assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Wa alaikum
Yeah.
salam.
Yeah, so my name is Farrukh. I'm also a realtor in Moncton. It's another city, and I work with the same agency like Shabahat. So
Nice to
it's good to meet with everyone. I have a very small question. The profit rate, do they fluctuate with the market, or what is the difference between that every 3 months we have a news, then we share on our social media that the interest rate is going up, down. There are millions of the publications, the real estate industry, and it's a very big news everywhere. So how it work with the Sharia compliant mortgages?
In our case, brother, the market rates have an impact, but it's not a direct impact. It's an indirect impact. I'll tell you how. If we are taking money through wakala from the banks tell us on a weekly basis how much wakala return they expect, because they are comparing our investment against their other riba-based investments, because they don't care whether it's halal or haram or riba-based. They don't care. They just look at the risk versus return profile. So, of course, what they demand from us will be based on many of their factors, including what the rates are in the market. So generally, when interest rates are going down in the market, the banks are getting lower returns from the market. So their requirement from us also goes down a little bit. But there are other factors as well that play a role. However, there is a correlation because of the reason I explained to you. So we do expect, as Naveed mentioned, Brother Naveed mentioned, that we expect the rates to go down. It is my goal, and this is a recorded call, so I have to always be careful before saying this. Nobody can guarantee the future. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the future. Right now, our rate is just about 8%. It is my goal, and inshallah, I'm 99% sure we will achieve this, that by the time you renew in 2 years, our rate will be between 5.5 and 5.9. So you will renew at a much cheaper rate. And I'm talking about by today's standards. Like, my aim in the long term is to be within 1% of RBC rate. If RBC is going to be at 4.5%, we will be not more than 5.5. And this is the case in the global Islamic finance industry in the West. And we believe that we can achieve that in the next 2 years, inshallah.
Yeah, and just to be careful, I just want to add to that. If you want to wait 2 years, remember you're buying the house for 330, not 300. So although the profit rate is lower and your monthly obligation is there, you're going to have a higher principal amount that you need to pay. I can do the calculation for you to help you understand that although your profit rate today is higher, you're still benefiting significantly versus waiting. And Brother Shafahat can also go over some of those details.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, for any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Naveed can answer those too. There was another question. I'm sorry, I lost track of who raised the hand. I don't see it anymore. But after Brother Farooq, someone else raised their hand too. Can you please raise your hand again so we can unmute you?
Just want to be respectful of everyone's time as well. I believe we have a couple minutes left, so we can maybe take 1 or 2 questions, and then we should do some closing remarks, inshallah.
Anyone has
While we are waiting for is there any questions?
Muhammad Nasir, brother has a question, yeah, and then we have a follow-up question, I believe, Brother Yasir as well.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Sorry, I'm not Nasir, I'm
Oh,
Hafiza.
sorry, yeah, sister. I was getting confused with the name. Go ahead.
It's okay, no problem. That's my husband's name.
Oh, okay, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Go ahead, please.
I have a question. Like, how can I contact with you after this meeting?
How can you contact with me?
Yeah.
You can give me a call. I mean, you can note down my phone number. It is
All the phone numbers will be in the last slide. Azim, I believe you have a slide which you will show before the end of the
yeah,
call.
yeah, there you
All
go.
our contact
Yeah,
details will be.
you
I
can
will take a screenshot.
yeah, you can take the picture of that slide.
Yeah, because according to the individual situation, maybe the suggestion and the recommendation will be different.
For sure, 100%. Yeah, inshallah, I'll try my best to help, and then we can involve Brother
Thank
Naveed
you.
as well.
Like, I'm become very happy to learn all those things. I was thinking for a couple of days, like there's no halal mortgage, and the people are not used to uh, hear this kind of sounds like halal mortgage. What's that?
Yeah,
I was thinking like, oh, maybe we cannot buy a house. I thought all that things, though it's not popular here about the halal mortgage or something like that. So I thought maybe we cannot buy in future. But now I'm being happy to hear from you guys. Thanks a lot.
that's great.
I
Jazakallah.
wish a great success for you guys. Thank you very much.
Jazakumullah khair. Jazakumullah. Thank you.
Thank you. We will connect, inshallah, and we can sort things out for you, sister. Jazakallah.
Shabab bhai, it's 8 o'clock. Maybe a last question and then we wrap it up.
Yes, yeah. Brother Yasser, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the opportunity once again. Zuhair, you answered my question perfectly. You touches the basis, and I feel the pulse now. I now have a good idea. And just like the sister who just spoke, you raised my hope. I already lost hope with ever gonna own a home in this part of the world. I lost that hope until today. Thank you very much. One last question is, um, the other question I want to ask, somebody ask and you respond to that. But the other part of the question is, does the profit fluctuate like that of the interest mortgage fluctuating? So do you have those variables that says you can do the fixed or the variable and so on? Do we have that? And second part of my question is, do you also have other forms of financing outside mortgaging? Thank you very much. I don't want to take much of our time. Thank you.
Jazakumullah khair, Brother Yasir. May Allah give you a very long life. Your compliments made, and the sister's compliments made me very emotional because, uh, like a lot of the Muslims and brothers and sisters, I have done many bad things and make mistakes in my life. And EQRAZ is my hope that Allah will forgive and accept our tawbah and give us maghfirah when we do good things with that niyyah. So when I hear something positive like this, it really gives a lot of energy to me, to Naveed, to Brother Shabahat to continue our hard work. So Jazakumullah, and please continue. It's your du'as only which make this successful. With regards to, I will answer in reverse. The other forms of financing, right now we are only focused on mortgages, but we do expect within a year and a half, by the end of next year, to launch halal credit cards and then Ijara car financing, and we do plan to do a lot of other businesses as well. But right now, we want to focus to get to a certain stage of mortgage financing, and we are focusing on that because it's very hard work. So we don't want to get distracted until that expansion is completed. So inshallah, with your du'as, we are going to do that next year. We are actually also planning to launch an investment product where Muslim brothers and sisters can invest and get halal fixed return, like a mutual fund, like an ETF, but it's a halal ETF with a fixed return through a Sharia compliant structure, inshallah. With regards to the rates, this is a very important question, brother. The reason we have a monthly murabaha transaction is because the very strict principle of a murabaha transaction, if once a murabaha transaction has happened, the rate cannot change, the amount cannot change. So you will also see a simple murabaha product in somewhere in the world, even in Canada, where the lender buys the house for 1 million, for example, sells it to you for 1.4 million. This is a murabaha transaction. Now, this 1.4 million is fixed. So this is based, for example, on 7%. Now the 7% rate is fixed for the entire 25 years. It cannot be changed because murabaha transaction already happened. However, if you, with EQRAZ, we have a monthly murabaha structure using other Sharia compliant commodity where we do the murabaha transaction. What that means is we can actually have, if we want, a different rate for every murabaha transaction every month. But what we are doing is our rate, it will be fixed for the duration of your term. So if you take a 5-year mortgage at 8% today, it will be fixed for 8%. If you take a 2-year mortgage at 8%, it will be fixed for 2 years. But after 2 years, it will renew at the updated rate. So this is what we are doing, and I hope this answers your question. Of course, our number is there. If there is more questions, we are very happy to answer. If you call or email us, we have a very quick response time. Inshallah, you will be quite pleased with that. And we're available.
Jazakallah, brother Zohair. So our contact information is displayed. So please take screenshots or pictures as you like. Feel free to connect with any of us as you feel the need. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Once again, thank you, everyone. Thank you to EQRAZ team for organizing and making all these efforts. Thank you for everyone who has joined. And we can organize more such sessions in future as per we see the demand and from the questions from the community here. But thank you again, everyone. It was
I request all of you guys, Jazakallah, thank you for attending and for your time. I request all of you to please spread the word, because the more we spread the word, the more people have the opportunity and the more sawab for all of us. So please spread the word, and we are here to help the community, inshallah. And I hope to visit in person also when Shabad Bhai invites me, and Naveed also, right? So inshallah, we will see you in person.
anytime.
Jazakallah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.